The Sunday lunch started like all the others. Too polite, too formal, too careful. My dining room table was set with the good china. The roast in the oven filled the house with that familiar smell of rosemary and garlic. Classical music played softly in the background. Everything looked perfect on the surface, but I could feel the tension humming underneath like a live wire. My daughter Patricia sat at one end of the table, her posture rigid, her smile tight. Her husband Mark was scrolling through his phone, barely present. And my granddaughter Amber, 22 years old, home from college for the weekend, was texting someone under the table, giggling occasionally at whatever was on her screen. And then there was Daniel. He sat beside me, wearing the blue button-down shirt I'd bought him last month. His hands were folded neatly in his lap. His expression was calm, patient, kind, the way it always was. But I could see the slight tension in his jaw. The way his eyes darted around the room, trying to read the situation. He knew he wasn't welcome here. We both did. But he came anyway. For me. The conversation was stilted. Patricia asked about the weather. Mark grunted responses about traffic. Amber said nothing directly to Daniel, just kept glancing at him with this look like he was some kind of specimen she was studying for a psychology experiment. I really tried to make it normal. Daniel, would you like more potatoes? I'm fine, thank you. He smiled at me. Everything is delicious, Helena. Patricia's fork scraped against her plate. A deliberate sound. So, Daniel, she didn't look up. Still working at the pharmacy? Yes, ma'am. Same place. Almost 10 years now. How? Stable. The word dripped with condescension. Mark finally looked up from his phone. You ever think about doing something else? Going back to school, or whatever? Daniel's jaw tightened slightly, but his voice stayed even. I'm happy where I am. I help people. It's good work. I'm sure it is, Patricia said, her tone suggesting she thought the opposite. I opened my mouth to say something to defend him, to change the subject, to do anything to ease the tension, but Amber's laughter cut through the room. She was staring at Daniel with barely concealed amusement. What's so funny? I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. Nothing, Grandma. She smirked. Just nothing. But it wasn't nothing. I could see it in her eyes. That cruel gleam. That satisfaction. Daniel shifted in his seat. Uncomfortable. He reached down to adjust something, then froze. His face went pale. Excuse me. His voice was strained. I need to use the restroom. He stood up carefully. Too carefully. Like every movement hurt. Like something was wrong. I watched him walk down the hallway, his gait stiff and unnatural. And then I heard Amber whisper to her mother, "Oh my God, do you think he noticed yet?" Patricia's eyes went wide. Then she covered her mouth, stifling something between shock and laughter. Amber, what did you do? I just wanted to see if he was for real, you know? Like, would he actually stick around after a little prank? My blood went cold. What prank? Amber rolled her eyes. Relax, Grandma. It's just super glue. In his underwear. I did it earlier when he used the bathroom. It's hilarious. Like, if he's really just here for your money, he'll freak out and leave. But if he actually cares about you. She trailed off, still smiling like this was all a game. You did what? My voice came out as a whisper. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's not a big deal. It's just a joke. A joke. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. You glued your grandmother's boyfriend's underwear to his skin as a joke. Oh, come on. Don't be so dramatic. He'll be fine. It's not like it's dangerous or anything. Patricia finally found her voice. Amber, that's too far. But she didn't sound angry. She sounded almost amused. Like she was scolding a child for eating cookies before dinner instead of committing an act of genuine cruelty. I felt like I couldn't breathe, like the walls were closing in. Daniel came back from the bathroom. His face was red. His eyes were watering. He looked at me, and I saw it all, the pain, the humiliation, the dawning realization that he'd been set up. Helena, I think I need to go. Daniel, I'm sorry. I can't. He grabbed his jacket from the back of his chair and headed for the door. And I stood there, frozen, speechless, watching him leave, watching my granddaughter laugh, watching my daughter do nothing, and feeling something inside me shatter. If someone has ever humiliated you just for loving someone they didn't approve of, leave a comment below and subscribe. Maybe your story needs to be heard too. Let me back up. Let me tell you how I got here. How a woman like me, 66 years old, financially secure, supposedly wise with age, ended up in the middle of this mess. My name is Helena. I've lived in this house for 38 years. My late husband Edward and I bought it when Patricia was just a baby. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a backyard big enough for a swing set, and a garden. It was supposed to be our forever home, and in a way, it was. Edward passed away 7 years ago. Heart attack, sudden. One day he was here, planning our retirement trip to Italy. The next day, he was gone. The house became mine, fully paid off. No mortgage. Edward had been smart with our finances, investments, life insurance, pension. I was comfortable, more than comfortable. I didn't have to worry about money for the rest of my life, but I was alone, so incredibly, devastatingly alone. Patricia visited for the first few months after Edward died, brought casseroles, helped me sort through his clothes, held my hand while I cried. But then life got busy, her job, her husband, her daughter. The visits became less frequent. Once a week turned into once a month, turned into holidays only. And even those felt obligatory. Like she was checking a box. Visit mom, done. Amber was worse. When she was little, she used to love coming over. We'd bake cookies together, watch old movies. She'd fall asleep on the couch with her head in my lap. But somewhere around age 13, that stopped. She became too cool for grandma, too busy with friends and school and her phone. Now she was 22, in college, studying business or marketing or something. I honestly wasn't sure anymore because she never talked to me about it. The only time I heard from her was when she needed something. Money for textbooks, a place to stay during winter break when her apartment lease ended early. A loan for a spring break trip. I always said yes, because she was my granddaughter, because I loved her, because I thought that's what family did, but it was never reciprocated. Never a thank you that felt genuine. Never a call just to check in. Never a visit that wasn't transactional. Still, I told myself it was normal. Kids these days are busy, distant. That's just how it is. I told myself I was fine. That I had my book club and my garden and my charity work. That I didn't need anything more. But at night, when the house was quiet and empty, I felt it. That aching loneliness. That sense that my life was over. That I was just waiting now. Waiting for holidays. Waiting for obligatory visits. Waiting to die. The silence in this house was suffocating. Every room held memories. The kitchen where Edward and I used to cook together. The living room where we'd watch TV on the couch. The bedroom where we'd talk late into the night about everything and nothing. Now those rooms were just spaces I moved through. Ghost rooms. Haunted by a life I used to have. I thought about selling, downsizing, moving to a condo or one of those senior living communities. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. This house was all I had left of Edward, of the family we'd built, of the life we'd shared. So I stayed, and the silence grew louder. I met Daniel on a Tuesday afternoon in March. I'd gone to the pharmacy to pick up a prescription blood pressure medication, because apparently getting older means your body starts betraying you in small, annoying ways. The regular pharmacist wasn't there. Instead, there was a man I'd never seen before. Mid-40s, maybe. Salt and pepper hair. Kind eyes. A name tag that said Daniel, pharmacy technician. He smiled when I approached the counter. How can I help you today? I'm here to pick up a prescription. Under Helena Morrison. He typed into the computer, then frowned slightly. It looks like there's an issue with your insurance. Let me call them real quick and sort it out. Oh, that's frustrating. I'm sorry. No need to apologize. This happens all the time. Have a seat. I'll get it handled. I sat in one of those uncomfortable plastic chairs they have in pharmacies. Watched him on the phone, patiently explaining the situation to whoever was on the other end. Watched him nod and smile and stay calm even when the person on the other end was clearly being difficult. 20 minutes later, he waved me back over. All set. Your insurance approved it. Here you go. He handed me the prescription bag, and our fingers touched briefly. A fleeting, accidental moment of contact. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your patience. Of course. That's what I'm here for. He smiled again. A genuine smile. Not the polite but distant smile people give strangers. A real one. Have a good day, Ms. Morrison. You too. I left the pharmacy feeling lighter somehow. Like that small act of kindness had filled a tiny crack in the wall I'd built around myself. 2 weeks later, I was back. Different prescription. Same pharmacy. Same man behind the counter. He recognized me immediately. Ms. Morrison, good to see you again. How are you feeling? Did that blood pressure medication help? I was surprised he remembered. It did, actually. Thank you for asking. Good. That's what we like to hear. He rang up my new prescription, but instead of just handing it over and moving on to the next customer, he paused. This one's for. He glanced at the label. Insomnia. Yes. I've been having trouble sleeping lately. I'm sorry to hear that. Insomnia is rough. There was something in his tone. Not pity, just understanding. Do you have trouble sleeping? I asked before I could stop myself. Sometimes. He leaned against the counter. Used to be worse. After my mom passed away, I couldn't sleep for months. Just lay there staring at the ceiling. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. It gets easier with time. At least, that's what people say. He smiled, but it was sad around the edges. Does it get easier? I think it gets different. Not easier, necessarily, just different. We stood there for a moment, two strangers sharing something real in the middle of a fluorescent-lit pharmacy. Anyway, he straightened up. If the insomnia persists, come back and talk to the pharmacist. There might be some other options. I will. Thank you, Daniel. He looked surprised that I knew his name. Then he smiled. Anytime, Helena. And hearing him say my first name, not Ms. Morrison, but Helena, felt unexpectedly intimate. It became a routine. Every couple of weeks, I'd go to the pharmacy. Sometimes I actually needed something. Sometimes I just went. We'd talk. Small conversations at first. The weather, the news, how our days were going. But gradually, the conversations deepened. He told me about growing up in Ohio, about working 2 jobs to help his mom pay the bills after his dad left, about how he'd wanted to be a pharmacist but couldn't afford the schooling, so he became a technician instead, about how he was okay with that, how he liked helping people. I told him about Edward, about the loneliness, about feeling invisible in my own life, and he listened, really listened. Not the polite nod dash and dash wait dash for dash your dash turn dash to talk kind of listening, but the kind where you can tell someone is actually absorbing what you're saying, actually caring. One day, after a particularly long conversation about gardening, we both loved roses, he did something that surprised me. Helena, I know this might be weird, but would you like to get coffee sometime? Outside of the pharmacy? My heart did a strange little flip. Coffee, yeah. I mean, if you're comfortable with that. No pressure. I enjoy talking to you. I should have said no. Should have been sensible. This man was 20 years younger than me. What would people think? But I was so tired of being alone. So tired of going through the motions. So tired of living for everyone else's expectations. I'd like that. His face lit up. Really, really. That coffee turned into dinner. That dinner turned into a walk in the park. That walk turned into hours of conversation that made me forget about everything except how good it felt to be seen again. He made me laugh. Really laugh. The kind that makes your stomach hurt. He asked about my life. Not just the surface stuff, but what I dreamed about. What I regretted. What I still wanted to do before I died. And when I asked him the same questions, he answered honestly. Told me about his failed marriage in his 30s. About how he'd thrown himself into work afterward. About how lonely he'd been. I thought I'd just be alone forever, he said one night over dinner. That I'd work and go home and sleep and repeat until I died. And that was okay. Or at least, I told myself it was okay. And now, he looked at me across the table, his eyes warm in the candlelight. Now I think maybe I was wrong. Maybe there's more. My breath caught. Daniel, I'm 66 years old. I know. You're 46. I know that too. People will talk. They'll say terrible things. Let them. He reached across the table and took my hand. Helena, I don't care about any of that. I care about you. About how I feel when I'm with you. About how you make me want to be better. Tears pricked my eyes. What if this is a mistake? What if it's not? And sitting there with his hand in mine, I decided to take the risk. To be brave. To choose happiness even if it looked different than I'd expected. I didn't tell Patricia about Daniel right away. I wasn't hiding him. Exactly. I just wasn't ready for the conversation. I knew how it would go. The questions. The judgment. The thinly veiled concern that would really be disapproval. But 3 months in, I couldn't keep it to myself anymore. I wanted to share this part of my life. Wanted my daughter to be happy for me. So I called her. Patricia, honey, can you come over for lunch this Sunday? Just you and me? Sure, Mom. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. I just want to talk. She arrived right on time, wearing expensive sunglasses and carrying a designer purse. She kissed my cheek a quick, perfunctory peck and settled into the kitchen chair. So what's going on? I poured us both tea, my hands shaking slightly. I've been seeing someone. She paused mid-sip. Seeing someone. Yes. His name is Daniel. We've been together for a few months now. Together, dating, in a relationship, whatever you want to call it. She set down her cup carefully. Mom, that's great. I'm happy for you. But her face didn't look happy. It looked concerned, cautious. Tell me about him. Where did you meet? At the pharmacy. He works there. He works at a pharmacy. As a what? Pharmacist. Technician. Her expression shifted. Subtle but unmistakable. A pharmacy technician. Yes. And how old is he? 46. She blinked. Then blinked again. 46. You're 66. I'm aware of my age, Patricia. Mom, that's a 20-year age difference. Your father was 15 years older than me. That's different. How? She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. It just is. People will talk. Let them talk, Mom. She leaned forward, her voice taking on that patronizing tone she used when she thought I was being unreasonable. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm just concerned. You're vulnerable right now. Vulnerable. Yes. You're lonely. You miss Dad. And this man, Daniel. This Daniel. He's taking advantage of that. He's not taking advantage of anything. How do you know? Have you asked yourself what he wants from you? The implication hung in the air like smoke. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that a 46-year-old pharmacy technician dating a wealthy 66-year-old widow might have ulterior motives. I felt like I'd been slapped. You think he's with me for my money. I think it's a possibility you should consider. I see. I stood up, my tea untouched. You should go. Mom, please leave, Patricia. I don't want to say something I'll regret. She grabbed her purse, her face flushed. I'm just trying to protect you. No, you're not. You're trying to keep me in a box. Lonely and safe and convenient. That's not fair. Neither is what you're suggesting about Daniel. She left without another word. The door closed behind her with a soft click that felt like a gunshot. 2 days later, my phone rang. Patricia. Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. You called the man I care about a gold digger. I didn't say that exactly. You implied it. Same thing. She sighed. Look, I talked to Amber. She wants to meet him. Maybe if we all have lunch together. I can see that I was wrong. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to think she was genuinely trying. Okay, Sunday lunch here. Perfect. We'll be there. But even as I agreed, something in my gut told me this was a mistake. The signs were there from the beginning. The little comments. The looks. When Daniel came over for dinner one night before the disastrous Sunday lunch, Patricia happened to stop by unannounced. She looked him up and down like she was appraising a used car. So you're Daniel? Yes, ma'am. Nice to finally meet you. He extended his hand. She shook it limply. Mom's told me a lot about you. All good things, I hope. HMM. She turned to me. Mom, can I talk to you? In private? We went to the kitchen. She closed the door. That's him, yes. He's younger than I expected. He's 46. He looks younger. She crossed her arms. What does he drive? What? His car. What does he drive? I don't know. A Honda, I think. Why does that matter? It doesn't. I'm just curious. But her tone said otherwise. Amber was worse. When she came over to meet Daniel, she spent the entire time on her phone, barely acknowledging him except to ask pointed questions. So, Daniel, what do you do for fun? I like hiking, reading, cooking. Cooking. She smirked. That's so domestic. Amber, I said sharply. What? I'm just making conversation. Later, when Daniel went to use the bathroom, she turned to me. Grandma, seriously? Him? What's wrong with him? Nothing, I guess. If you're into the whole blue-collar thing, there's nothing wrong with honest work. I didn't say there was. It's just... Don't you think he's with you because you have money? The same accusation. The same judgment. No, I don't. Well, maybe you should. The Sunday lunch was supposed to be a peace offering. A chance for everyone to start fresh. I spent all morning cooking. Made sure the house was spotless. Wore my good red blazer, the one Edward always said brought out my eyes. Daniel arrived early to help me set the table. He looked nervous. Are you sure about this? Yes. They need to see who you really are. What if they don't want to see it? I kissed his cheek. Then that's their problem, not ours. But even as I said it, I felt the doubt creeping in. Patricia, Mark, and Amber arrived together. The tension was immediate. Mark barely looked at Daniel, just grunted a greeting and sat down. Patricia's smile was tight and false. And Amber had that look in her eyes. That calculating, cruel look. Hi, Grandma. She hugged me, then looked past me at Daniel. Daniel, nice to see you again. Her tone was mocking, like she was in on some joke the rest of us weren't. We sat down to eat. The conversation was stilted and uncomfortable. Patricia asked about work. Daniel answered politely. Mark made comments about the economy. Amber kept texting under the table. And then Daniel excused himself to use the bathroom. He was gone for maybe 2 minutes. When he came back, I noticed Amber watching him intently. She whispered something to Patricia. They both stifled laughs. I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach. What's so funny? Nothing, Grandma. Amber smiled sweetly. Just a private joke. Daniel sat down carefully, too carefully, like something was wrong. And then I saw it. The way he shifted in his seat. The way his face went pale. The way his hands gripped the edge of the table. "Are you okay?" I asked quietly. "I'm fine." But he wasn't fine. Something was very wrong. He excused himself again. This time he was gone longer. And that's when I heard Amber giggle. "Oh my God. Do you think he noticed yet?" Patricia's eyes went wide. "Amber, what did you do?" And my granddaughter, my sweet, innocent granddaughter who I'd raised and loved and spoiled, smiled like the devil himself. I put super glue in his underwear, just to see what would happen. The room went silent. I felt the blood drain from my face. "You what? Relax, Grandma. It's just a prank." "A prank." My voice came out strangled. "You glued his underwear to his skin? It's not that serious. It's funny. Like, if he's really just here for your money, he'll freak out and leave. But if he actually cares about you, he'll stay." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what I was hearing. Daniel came back. His eyes were watering. His face was red. He looked at me with such pain and humiliation that I felt it in my own chest. "Helena, I need to go." "Daniel, wait. I'm sorry. I can't do this." He grabbed his jacket and left. And I stood there, watching him go, watching Amber laugh, watching Patricia do nothing, and something inside me broke. Later that night, after everyone had left after the forced apologies, and it was just a joke excuses, I sat alone in my house. The silence was back, but this time it felt different, heavier, like it was crushing me. I called Daniel. No answer. I texted him. Nothing. I'd lost him. Because of my family. Because I hadn't defended him. Because I'd been too shocked, too paralyzed to do anything. And for what? For people who clearly didn't respect me. Who saw me as nothing more than a bank account and a caretaker. I looked around my empty house. At the photos on the walls. At the memories frozen in frames. And I realized something. I'd spent my whole life living for other people. For Edward, for Patricia, for Amber, for everyone except myself. And where had it gotten me? Alone, disrespected, taken for granted no more. That night, unable to sleep, I found myself going through old photo albums, something I hadn't done in years. There was Amber at 3 years old, chubby cheeks, wild curls, sitting on my lap at Christmas, her eyes wide with wonder at the tree. I remembered that day so clearly. How she'd insisted on helping me bake cookies. How she'd gotten flour all over herself and laughed. How she'd fallen asleep in my arms while we watched a holiday movie. "I love you, Grandma. You're the best grandma in the whole world." When had that changed? When had I become someone to use instead of someone to love? Another photo. Amber at 7, missing her to front teeth, holding up a drawing she'd made for me. My grandma is the nicest person I know. I'd kept that drawing. It was still in a frame in my bedroom, but the girl who'd drawn it was gone. Replaced by someone I barely recognized. I flipped further back, found a photo of Patricia as a little girl, maybe 5 or 6, holding Edward's hand, both of them smiling at the camera. I remembered that day too. We'd gone to the zoo. Patricia had been so excited to see the elephants. She'd held my hand and said, "Thank you, Mommy. This is the best day ever." When did I become not enough for her? When did my happiness become secondary to her comfort? There was a photo of Edward and me. Our wedding day, both of us young and hopeful and in love. He would have liked Daniel. I was sure of it. Edward had always been a good judge of character. Always seen people for who they were, not what they had. Don't let anyone make you feel small, Helena. You're worth more than that. He'd told me that once, years ago, when a neighbor had been rude to me at a party. I wish he'd been here now, to remind me, to help me find my courage. I closed the album, wiped my eyes, and made a decision. I wasn't going to let them take this from me. Wasn't going to let their cruelty and judgment steal the one good thing I'd found after 7 years of loneliness. I was going to fight for Daniel, for us, for myself, even if it meant losing them. The next morning, I called Daniel again. Still no answer. I drove to his apartment, knocked on the door. He opened it, looking exhausted and defeated. "Helena, can I come in?" He hesitated, then stepped aside. His apartment was small but tidy. Modest furniture, books on shelves, photos of his mother on the walls. "I'm so sorry," I said immediately. I should have said something. Should have stopped her. Should have. "It's not your fault." "Yes, it is. She's my granddaughter." And I just sat there like a coward. He sat down on the couch, ran his hands through his hair. "Helena, I can't do this." My heart sank. "Can't do what?" "This and us. Your family hates me. And honestly, I get it. I'm a pharmacy technician dating a wealthy widow. I'm sure it looks bad. I don't care how it looks. But they do, and they're your family. I won't come between you and them. What if I want you to?" He looked up at me, surprised. What if I'm choosing you over them?" "Helena, no. Listen, I've spent 66 years being what everyone else wanted me to be. The good daughter, the good wife, the good mother, the good grandmother." My voice broke. "And where has it gotten me alone? Taken advantage of? Treated like I don't matter?" I sat down beside him. "You're the first person in 7 years who's made me feel like I'm more than just a wallet or a convenience. And I'm not giving that up. Not for anyone. What about your family? What about them? They've made it clear what they think of me, of us. And I'm done trying to earn their approval." He took my hand. "Are you sure?" "Yes. This is going to be hard. They're not going to just accept this. I know. But I'd rather be happy and rejected than miserable and accepted." He pulled me into his arms. And for the first time since the disaster of Sunday lunch, I felt like I could breathe again. But the universe had other plans. 2 days later, I got a call from Patricia. She was crying. "Mom, it's Amber. She's in the hospital." My blood ran cold. "What happened?" "We don't know. She collapsed at school. They think it might be an allergic reaction or something. Can you come?" I grabbed my keys. "I'll be right there." When I arrived at the emergency room, Patricia and Mark were in the waiting area. Patricia's makeup was smudged from crying. Mark looked pale. "What happened?" "They don't know yet. She just collapsed during class. Started having trouble breathing. A doctor came out, young, tired looking." "Are you Amber Morrison's family?" "Yes." Patricia stood up. "I'm her mother. She's stable now. It was an anaphylactic reaction. We had to give her epinephrine and steroids. She's going to be okay." "What caused it?" "We're not sure yet. We're running tests. But it seems like she came into contact with something she's severely allergic to." Patricia turned to me, her face crumpling. "I don't understand. She's never had allergies before. Sometimes they develop later in life," the doctor said. "Has she been around anything unusual recently?" And then it hit me. The super glue. Amber had handled the super glue. Put it in Daniel's underwear. And if she was allergic to the chemicals in it. "I need to see her." The doctor nodded. "She's in room 4. Down the hall." I walked toward the room, my heart pounding. And then I saw him, Daniel, standing outside Amber's room, wearing his work clothes, his hospital badge clipped to his shirt pocket. He worked at this hospital. Of course he did. He'd mentioned once that he picked up shifts in their pharmacy sometimes. Our eyes met, and I saw it all in his face. The knowledge, the irony, the quiet grace. "Daniel, Helena." He stepped toward me. "I heard about Amber. I'm on shift tonight. You're here." "Yeah, I work here sometimes. In their pharmacy. I help with medication orders." I couldn't speak. Couldn't process the coincidence of it all. "Is she okay?" "The doctors think so." They said it was an allergic reaction. He nodded slowly. Something flickered in his eyes. Understanding. To what? I swallowed hard. They don't know yet. But I think it might have been the superglue. His jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. That makes sense. Some superglues contain cyanoacrylate. People with sensitivities can have severe reactions. We stood there in the hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the sound of monitors beeping in distant rooms. Daniel, I'm so sorry. For everything. For what she did to you. For not defending you. For, Helena, stop. He took my hands. What she did was cruel. But she's your granddaughter. She's 22 years old and she made a terrible mistake. And now she's paying for it. You're not angry. I'm angry about what happened. But I'm not going to hold a grudge against a kid who's lying in a hospital bed. Tears streamed down my face. How are you so kind? After everything? Because being angry doesn't fix anything. And because I love you. And that means I don't get to pick and choose which parts of your life I accept. He wiped my tears with his thumbs. Go be with your family. They need you right now. What about us? We'll figure that out later. Right now, your granddaughter needs her grandmother. He kissed my forehead. Then he walked away, back toward the pharmacy. And I stood there in that hallway, my heart breaking and mending at the same time. I went into Amber's room. She was lying in the bed, pale and hooked up to monitors. Her eyes were closed. Patricia sat beside her, holding her hand. Mom, how is she? Better. The medication is working. She's sleeping now. I sat down on the other side of the bed, looked at my granddaughter, so young, so foolish, so cruel, and so fragile at the same time. They think it was the super glue, I said quietly. Patricia's head snapped up. What? The super glue she used? On Daniel. She must have gotten it on her hands. Had a reaction. Patricia's face went white, then red, then white again. Oh my God. Yeah. We sat in silence for a long moment. Mom, I'm so sorry. For what? For everything. For not believing you. For judging Daniel. For not stopping Amber. For being a terrible daughter. Her voice broke on the last word. You're not a terrible daughter. Yes, I am. I've been awful to you. Treated you like you were being ridiculous for wanting to be happy. Acted like you were too old to fall in love. She wiped her eyes. I think I was jealous. Jealous, yeah, of how happy you were. How alive. I'm 43 years old and I feel like I'm just going through the motions. Work and marriage and raising Amber, and it's all just routine. She looked at me. And then you found Daniel. And you were glowing. And I resented it. Because if you could be happy at 66, what did that say about me? I reached over, squeezed her hand. Patricia, you're allowed to want more too. You're allowed to want to be happy. I know, but it's easier to tear down someone else's happiness than face your own unhappiness, I guess. Amber stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. Grandma, I'm here, sweetheart. I'm sorry. Her voice was hoarse. I'm so sorry. I know. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was supposed to be funny. Supposed to prove he was fake. But he's not fake, is he? No, he's not. He was here earlier. Tears ran down her cheeks. He brought me water. Asked if I needed anything. I tried to apologize and he just said get some rest. She sobbed. I was so cruel to him. And he was nice to me anyway. Why? Because that's who he is. I don't deserve that. Maybe not. But he gave it to you anyway. She closed her eyes again, exhausted. I'm really sorry, Grandma. We'll talk about it later. Right now, you need to rest. Hours later, after Amber had been moved to a regular room and was sleeping peacefully, after Patricia and Mark had gone home, I found Daniel in the hospital cafeteria. He was sitting alone at a corner table, drinking coffee, looking exhausted. Can I sit? He looked up, surprised. Of course. I sat down across from him. You stayed. I had to finish my shift anyway. Daniel, thank you for being kind to her, for helping her. I was doing my job. It was more than that, and you know it. He set down his coffee cup. Helena, I'm not going to punish a kid for being stupid. We've all been stupid. We've all done things we regret. Not like that. Maybe not exactly like that, but close enough. He leaned back in his chair. Look, what she did was wrong. Really wrong. But she's 22. Her brain isn't even fully developed yet, and she clearly has some issues to work through. That doesn't excuse it. No, it doesn't. But it explains it. And I'd rather focus on moving forward than staying angry. I looked at this man. This kind, patient, impossibly good man who'd been humiliated and hurt and was still choosing grace. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do. I didn't defend you. I let them treat you like garbage. You were in shock. I don't blame you for that. You should. He reached across the table, took my hand. Helena, listen to me. What happened was awful, but it also showed me something important. What? That you're worth fighting for. That we're worth fighting for. And that your family, as messed up as they are, they're starting to see it too. You think so? I know so. Patricia apologized, didn't she? Yes. And Amber, she cried, said she was sorry. Then we're making progress. I squeezed his hand. What happens now? Now we go home, get some sleep, and tomorrow we figure out what comes next. Together. A week later, I made an appointment with my lawyer. Thomas had been handling my legal affairs for years. He'd done Edward's will, helped me with the estate after he died. He was trustworthy, discreet. Helena, good to see you. What can I do for you today? I want to make some changes to my will. He pulled out a legal pad. What kind of changes? I took a deep breath. I want to add Daniel as a beneficiary, and I want to change the distribution for Patricia and Amber. His eyebrows raised slightly, but he didn't comment. Walk me through what you're thinking. Currently, everything goes to Patricia. The house, the investments, the life insurance, all of it. That's correct. I want to split it differently now. Daniel gets 40%. Patricia gets 40%. And Amber gets 20%. But it goes into a trust that she can't access until she's 30. Thomas wrote it down. Any particular reason for these changes? Yes. Daniel has shown me more respect and kindness in 6 months than my daughter has in years. And my granddaughter needs to learn that actions have consequences. I see. And you're sure about this? Family estate disputes can get messy. I'm sure. He nodded. All right. I'll draft the new documents. You'll need to come back to sign them. Thank you, Thomas. As I stood to leave, he spoke again. Helena, for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Sometimes family needs to be reminded that love isn't a one-way street. I didn't tell anyone about the will, not yet, but I did call a family meeting. Patricia, Mark, and Amber came over on Sunday afternoon, the same dining room where everything had gone wrong. But this time felt different. I'd set out coffee and cookies. No formal meal, just a conversation. They sat down, looking nervous. Daniel was there too, at my request, sitting beside me. Thank you all for coming. Mom, what's this about? Patricia asked. I took a deep breath. I want to talk about what happened. All of it. And I want to set some boundaries going forward. Amber looked down at her hands. Patricia nodded. First, I want to say that I love all of you. You're my family, and nothing will ever change that. I paused. But love doesn't mean accepting disrespect. And what happened here a few weeks ago was disrespectful. To Daniel, to me, to all of us. Mom, we've apologized. I know you have. And I appreciate that. But apologies aren't enough. There need to be changes. I looked at Amber. What you did to Daniel was cruel. and dangerous, as we found out. You could have seriously hurt him. You could have seriously hurt yourself. I know. She was crying now. I'm so sorry, Grandma. I was trying to protect you and I just made everything worse. I don't need protection, Amber. I need respect. I'm a grown woman. I can make my own decisions. I turned to Patricia. And you've treated my relationship like it's a problem to be solved instead of something that makes me happy. You've questioned Daniel's motives, made him feel unwelcome, and acted like I'm not capable of knowing my own heart. Patricia's face flushed. I was worried about you. No, you were worried about what other people would think, about how it would look, about your inheritance. She flinched. Mom, that's not. Yes, it is. And I get it. I understand being protective. But there's a difference between protecting someone and controlling them. I reached for Daniel's hand. Daniel is a good man. He's kind and patient and he treats me with respect. He makes me happy. And I'm not giving that up. I looked around the table. So here's what's going to happen. If you want to be part of my life, you need to accept Daniel. Not tolerate him. Accept him. Treat him with the same respect you'd treat any other member of this family. And if we don't, Amber asked quietly, then you won't be welcome in my life. I won't beg for scraps of affection. I won't settle for conditional love. Either you're in or you're out. The room was silent. Patricia spoke first. You're right. About all of it. And I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. She turned to Daniel. I was wrong about you, and I'm sorry for making you feel unwelcome. You clearly care about my mother, and that should have been enough for me from the start. Daniel nodded. I appreciate that. Amber stood up, walked over to Daniel, and hugged him. I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve any of that. He hugged her back. It's okay. We all make mistakes. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. Can we start over? Like, can I actually get to know you instead of just judging you? Daniel smiled. I'd like that. Patricia stood too. Mom, I don't want to lose you. And if that means adjusting my attitude, then that's what I'll do. It's not just attitude, Patricia. It's action. I need you to show me, not just tell me. I will. I promise. 2 weeks later, Patricia invited Daniel and me to dinner at her house. A real dinner, not an ambush or a test. Just dinner. She cooked. Mark was actually engaged in conversation. Amber asked Daniel about his work, his hobbies, his life. Real questions. Genuine interest. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments. Still things left unsaid. But it was a start. After dinner, Patricia pulled me aside. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you happy? Really happy? I thought about it. About the past 6 months. About Daniel. About choosing myself for the first time in my life. Yes, I really am. She hugged me tight. Then that's all that matters. 6 months have passed since the super glue incident. 6 months since everything fell apart and came back together in a new shape. Amber graduates from college next month. She's asked Daniel to come to the ceremony. Asked him to sit with the family. Patricia and I have lunch together every other week. Real lunches where we talk about things that matter. Where she asks about my life and actually listens to the answers. Mark is still Mark. But he's polite to Daniel now. Sometimes even friendly. And Daniel is the constant, the steady presence, the person who saw me at my most vulnerable and chose to stay anyway. We've talked about moving in together, maybe selling my house and getting something smaller, something that's ours instead of mine. I haven't told my family about the will yet. I will eventually, when the time is right, but honestly, I don't think it will matter as much as I once thought it would. Because they've shown me that they can change, that they can grow, that they can put my happiness before their own discomfort, and that's worth more than any inheritance. I think about that Sunday lunch sometimes. about watching Daniel walk out, about the choice I had to make. Part of me wishes I'd defended him in the moment, stood up and called out Amber's cruelty immediately. But maybe it needed to happen the way it did. Maybe we all needed to hit rock bottom before we could rebuild. Because now we're building something real, something honest, something based on mutual respect instead of obligation. I've learned something important over these past months, something I wish I'd learned earlier but am grateful to know now. Your family will test you. They'll push boundaries and question your choices and sometimes hurt you in ways they don't even realize. But you get to decide what you accept. You get to set the rules. You get to say this far and no further. And if they really love you, they'll adjust. They'll learn. They'll grow. And if they don't, well, then maybe they weren't really your family to begin with. Daniel is in the kitchen making dinner. I can hear him humming along to the radio. Smell garlic and tomatoes. Hear the clatter of pots and pans. Simple sounds. Domestic sounds. The sounds of a life being lived. Not the life I expected at 66. But a good life. A happy life. A life I chose for myself instead of letting it be chosen for me. Last week, I got a text from Amber. Hey Grandma, can Daniel teach me how to cook? I want to make something special for my graduation dinner, and I remember you said he's really good. I showed it to Daniel. He smiled. Tell her yes. You sure? Yeah, I think it'll be good for both of us. So yesterday, Amber came over. She and Daniel spent 3 hours in the kitchen making lasagna from scratch. I watched from the doorway, not interfering, just observing. She asked him questions about cooking, about his life, about how he met me, and he answered honestly, patiently, like he always does. At one point, she said something that made me tear up. Daniel, I'm really glad my grandma found you. She seems happier than I've ever seen her. I'm glad I found her too. I'm sorry I tried to mess that up. You didn't mess it up. You just tested it. And we passed. She laughed. A real laugh. Not mocking or cruel. Just genuine. Yeah, I guess you did. That night, after Amber left with her pan of lasagna and a hug for both of us, Daniel and I sat on the couch. You were amazing with her today. She's a good kid. Just needed to grow up a little. Still, after what she did, he shrugged. People deserve second chances. Even people who don't think they do. I leaned my head on his shoulder. How did I get so lucky? I think I'm the lucky one. We sat in comfortable silence. The kind of silence that feels full instead of empty. Helena, yeah, I love you. You know that, right? I know. I love you too. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. Promise. Promise. And sitting there in my living room, in my house that was starting to feel like our house, I realized something. This was it. This was happiness. Not perfect, not without complications, but real. Honest, chosen. And that made it worth everything. This morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee. Daniel was already up, making breakfast. Scrambled eggs and toast and fresh fruit arranged on a plate. Morning, beautiful. You didn't have to do this. I know, but I wanted to. We ate together at the kitchen table, made plans for the day, decided to go for a walk later, maybe stop by the farmer's market. Simple plans, ordinary plans, the kind of plans that make up a life. Later, as we were cleaning up, my phone rang. Patricia. Hey Mom, what are you doing next Saturday? Nothing planned. Why? I'm having a barbecue. Just family. I wanted to make sure you and Daniel could come. We'd love to. Great. Oh, and Mom. Yes. Thank you for not giving up on us. For giving us a chance to do better. My throat tightened. Thank you for taking that chance. After I hung up, Daniel wrapped his arms around me from behind. Everything okay? Yeah, everything's really okay. I think about my life. All 66 years of it. The choices I made. the sacrifices, the compromises. And I think about the last 6 months, about choosing myself, about standing up for my own happiness. I wish I'd done it sooner. Wish I'd learned earlier that I mattered, that my needs and wants and dreams were just as important as everyone else's. But maybe I needed to go through everything I went through to get here. To this place of peace and clarity and joy. Maybe all those years of putting others first taught me to recognize what it felt like when someone finally put me first. I'm 66 years old. Daniel is 46. We're building a life together that doesn't look like anyone else's. And I'm done apologizing for it. Done justifying it. Done explaining it. This is my life. My choice. My happiness. And anyone who can't accept that doesn't deserve a place in it. If this story touched you, if you've ever had to choose between love and family approval, if you've ever been judged for finding happiness in an unexpected place, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Tell me your story. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family? Have you ever had to stand up for your own happiness? Subscribe to this channel if you believe that age is just a number and love doesn't have an expiration date. Hit that like button if Helena's journey resonated with you. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to put yourself first, that your happiness matters, that you deserve respect from the people who claim to love you. Because here's the truth, family should build you up, not tear you down. They should celebrate your joy, not question it. And if they can't do that, if they can't see you as a full human being with your own desires and dreams, then maybe they need to earn their place in your life instead of expecting it as a right. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be respected. At any age, in any relationship, without apology. Thank you for listening to my story. I'll see you in the next one.